newcomers, finding home in a land of barriers. This land holds many stories of the first people and of those still arriving, seeking safety, opportunity, and home. But for many newcomers, the dream of a better life is met with barriers, racism, exclusion, and the struggle to belong. We listen to those who have walked this path, who have faced discrimination, yet found the strength in their journey. Their stories remind us that healing is not just about one community, it's about all of us, standing together, creating a future where no one is treated as an outsider.
Hi, my name's Abby, and I'm one of the co-founders of Step Up Anti-Racist Association. We basically help youth combat racism in their everyday lives. The reasoning of even starting Step Up as a whole kind of stems from my own personal lived experiences with racism. I'm a first-generation immigrant from Jamaica. I moved here when I was 13, and I was someone who had a very strong accent, looks different. I went to an all-white school, so I was very much different in every category compared to my classmates. And a lot of the times it made me afraid to speak because every time I opened my mouth, it came with that's not how you say that, you're pronouncing that wrong, things like that. And honestly, I approached it so wrong when I first moved here. What I did to combat it was to try and fit in as much as possible. Hence why I sound like this today. I would go home and I'd practice how to talk white. I'd watch YouTube videos about how to talk white, and I regret that so much right now because this is how I sound. When I go and talk to my family members back home, I sound whitewashed, I sound Canadian, which is one of my biggest regrets. When I was moving here, I would straighten my hair every single day to the point it was breaking off, which again is not healthy, but that's kind of why we started Step Up, because when I was in school, I didn't really have any tools or was equipped with anything really to stand up against racism. I thought the best way was to relinquish all that I knew, stop bringing my cultural food to school, things like that, and I would finally fit in. But then I realized after doing all of that, I still didn't fit in. I still wasn't a white, blonde-haired woman, no matter how much I tried. So that's kind of what we did with Step Up, of we wanting people to feel confident in the things that make them who they are, and to be able to accurately address situations in their lives. Because for me, when I was younger, I thought racism was, racial slurs, beating someone up, such overt ways. I had no idea what microaggressions even were. And I think in a Canadian context, that's kind of where a majority of our racism lies, in that microaggression realm. So that's been a huge thing of helping youth understand what microaggressions are. And it's valid for you to feel hurt by these. It's valid for you to feel, invalidated. And we also culture is such a huge thing for what we do. And we want people to be proud of their culture. And we just kind of enforce multiculturalism as a way of being proud of each other's cultures and building together this strong community that is diverse and that we're all appreciating everyone for everything they can bring to the table. So something that I call her Nana. My Nana always says is that every miku meka muckle, which basically means every little thing adds up to something big in the end. And that's kind of the idea I talk about when we're dealing with micro affirmations, when we're talking with youth, of that small act of kindness. To you, it may mean something really small, of just hey, that looks really good today. Or you see someone wearing their cultural clothing, being oh, that looks so cute. Again, maybe something really small to you, but that mickle will be a muckle to someone else. It'll be something big that can truly be the reason they feel comfortable now wearing that outfit, bringing that food to school, things like that. So macro affirmations where because my other job is that I'm an anti-racism facilitator for another nonprofit, and I was kind of doing some research in terms of making this anti-racism presentation to give to schools where they're dealing with racism a lot. And NERQuest actually has a good toolkit out there where that's the first time I heard the word. They didn't really go too in depth in it, but that's where I first saw the keyword, and then I went further in my research. And there are even different aspects within macro affirmations going to a deeper level. So for every microaggression there's a macro affirmation to counteract it. And we just need to really hone in on understanding what those macro affirmations are and stop trying to tell ourselves oh, it's probably not that big of a deal, it's probably not that deep, when to the other person, it probably could make their whole day, their whole week. 100%, I wish I had those macro affirmations as a kid, because honestly, what made me kind of stop straightening my hair was someone being oh, your natural hair is really pretty. And I've never heard that before. So that's when I was wait, it is? I saw it as something I have to continuously hide, I hated when we went swimming because that means I'd have to go into the water and my hair would get wet, which means the curly hair would be out. Those macro affirmations could just be what people need to fully switch the way they see themselves and kind of counter the internalized racism they're dealing with. Something I'd say is that we like to think that, relinquishing everything will make us fit in better, but it truly does not. And studies literally show that having a stronger sense of self, stronger sense of community and identity and culture, that's what makes it better, and that's what makes you more equipped to stand up against, you know, racism, discrimination, because you're more confident in what you are and who you are. When you relinquish all of that, you realize you can't fit into the Eurocentric lens, because no matter how hard we try, we won't fully fit in. But then if you're relinquishing the part that actually fully accepts you, that leaves you in this middle ground of kind of not knowing who you are. So I really, really urge everyone to like hold on to their sense of culture, hold on to their sense of self, because that's where your community is. You know, that's really what equips you, makes you feel confident enough to go out into this world and, you know, stand up against these issues that you're going to be facing every day. Because unfortunately, it's hard to say, but we face this all the time. I love to say that you're gonna live a life where you'll never come across racism or discrimination, but it's out there, unfortunately. But you know, our culture and our sense of self is really an incredible tool to counter these things.
Creating a society stands with us, lifting voices, building trust. Together we rise, our hearts complete. So hear the drum, feel the beat. The circle turns, the healing grows. Through us all, the spirit flows. They try to break us, try to bend, took our voices to the wind, but the spirit's got us still. Through the mountains, through the hills, we rise up singing strong and free, creating hope society walks with me.